Well, let's take a look at what the dailies are saying this morning, and we're going to the streets of Port Harcourt. From time to time, we'll go around the country at those designated newspaper spots just to feel the heartbeat of Nigerians. And this morning, we're going south-south. We were in Lagos the last time out, southwest, but today we are in Port Harcourt, the River State capital, where our correspondent Deborah Agbalama joins us from a very popular place in Port Harcourt. Deborah, good morning. I can see that Port Harcourt is busy this morning, but walk us through where you're at and then the daily you're starting with, Deborah.
Okay, Coyote, good morning to you and the rest of the studio. Well, this is because by Paros. It's a very busy junction in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. And where I'm standing is actually a paper, a national daily vendor, both local and national dailies. She actually sells papers. And one would think that with the invent of online news and all that, street paper reading would have faced off. But you can see from the crowd behind me that it doesn't look like it's going out anytime soon. But the problem is, as you see them here reading, they are all reading yesterday's papers. Today's paper is not yet available. And we'll start with what we have for today. Then we'll now go to see what actually is. We're going to be checking their news to see those of the papers that are actually out, but not in Port Harcourt, like I said. Here's the latest challenge. We'll be speaking to her also later on. But let's go over to the headlines. And then from Vanguard, we have here that insecurity, how Asaba became home to Southeast indigents. This is the biggest story on the Vanguard. It says Asaba, a nearby towns to the rescue living in Southeast had been horrifying. This is coming from Chekwas Okori. That is the biggest story on the Vanguard. And then we go to New Telegraph. And on New Telegraph, the biggest story there is Abdul Salami. I am proud my government butted Nigerian democracy. There is no alternative to civil rule. This is, of course, the interim government that butted democracy in 1999. He was the interim president at that point. Abubakar Abdul Salami, he is saying he's proud that his government butted Nigerian democracy. And he says there is no alternative to civil rule. So for those who are thinking that what's happening in the Sahel, that what's happening, of course, in the Sahel states might happen in Nigeria, Abdul Salami is saying that that's not ever going to happen. Just reaffirming what the army chiefs and the defense chief have been saying. Well, but let's go to the headlines from Lagos, which of course seems to be more current than Port Harcourt because people who are here are reading yesterday's paper. So we'll go over to Nigeria Tribune, and it says presidency, El-Rufai trade words over governance, oppositions. This is the biggest story on Nigerian Tribune. It goes ahead to explain that be ready to defend your votes. Amechi tells Nigerians, says politicians kill, maim, should remain in power. So those are the biggest stories. You agree with us that it's been a lot from El-Rufai lately. He's been talking so much about the present government and what they are doing wrong. And well, he's saying that the government can do better than what they're doing right now, and that is the biggest story on Nigerian Tribune. We go over to the next. And the next story we have is from Nigerian News Direct. I never wanted a position in Tinubu's government, still El-Rufai. Nigerian News Direct, El-Rufai is still saying that he never wanted a position. You're aware that at some point, his name was presented to the Senate for screening, and there was a lot of drama around it. Eventually, he wasn't screened. He wasn't a ministerial nominee at the end of it. So it looks like there are still some grievances left around, and people are thinking maybe he's aggrieved, and that's why he's opposing the government. But everybody is saying that I do not oppose the government because of I didn't get a slot in ministerial nomination. Rather, it's born out of the desire to see something better in the country. And then we'll go over to the next paper we have here. This one is from Daily Independent. Now, a group of experts, legal experts, are saying here that they're endorsing state policing. They say state police implementation is the main thing for now. That is the major story on Daily Independent. Now, they gathered in Ilorin, where they had a meeting and then a conference where it was basically about discussing the possibilities and the advantages of having state policing. That's been an issue that has been lingered for a long time, saying that the governors can only have full control and be chief security officers in their various states if state policing is implemented. So they can actually, the CPs in these various states can be answerable to the governors to some extent, and they can control the security apparatus. Well, there have been some people saying also that, well, state policing might not work because you might find a situation where the governors would also abuse power. Well, at this conference, they also talked about possibility of, creating a framework that also controls the activities even while it's implemented. Okay, so that is what we have.
All right.
Coming from Daily Independent. And then we go over to The Guardian. And on The Guardian this morning, the biggest story there says, optimism as West African cities get $50 billion lifeline fresh bid for electricity. Now there is a meeting of over 300 African leaders at Tanzania where they discussed possibility of giving power to an estimated of 600 million African cities that have 600 million African people who do not have access to electricity. And so part of the discussion they held in that meeting is that they should assist these countries to have power, and they are willing, from donations and all that, from of course the World Powers, they've been able to raise $50 billion to invest into, or to inject into power supply in most African nations where they do not have power supply.
Right.
Well, they target that these cities should have power by
Deborah,
2030.
Interestingly,
it's a very big junction that you can see.
Absolutely.
To control the crowd.
Yeah, so one of the major talking points on the show this morning, something we're following up with. Yeah, but let's hear from her. I think it's very interesting to know what the business is like as we begin to wind down for her. So we'd like to hear from the lady, the vendor lady, Deborah.
Good morning, madam. Good morning. What's your name? My name is El-Rufai. Okay, I want to know whether they can hear you in the studio. Can you hear her clearly?
Oh, yes, certainly. We can hear Mary. Go ahead, Deborah.
Hello. Okay. Okay. So this morning you explained to me some things when I came here. Yes. Can you just run it by us again? What happens when you come out here? And why are you selling stale papers? These are yesterday papers. Why?
Because of it's not coming early. Vanguard come early, Telegraph early, and so on. These days they day after, like from afternoon from 12 to 1. Daily for the same thing. Then actually the same thing. Tinubu, we don't have to go in the back of the These days, the day after from 12 o'clock. The guys
so with the influence of internet, you are aware that at the moment people read more news online. News is now on the go. Have you affected business for you?
Because some people use it to headlines and everything. So we cannot meet up. Many things, they take it like that for now.
You can see her obviously still selling her papers while speaking to us.
Right.
She's selling, actually, I've actually witnessed her selling, but what she's selling are actually stale papers, yesterday's papers. And according to her, she sells it cheaper when it's a day old. So that is actually, interestingly, the crowd here is a lot. They've even reduced.
All right.
If you turn to the left as well, you see a crowd of people the same thing.
All right,
I wanted to just take the camera to the other side so you can see that there's another paper stand there, and people also clustered there as well.
All right.
They're all reading.
Beautiful sights from there in Port Harcourt, our correspondent Deborah Agbalama. So there's breaking news, there's today's news, and there's fairly used news from yesterday. And it looks like That's what we have largely in Port Harcourt. Thank you so much, Deborah, and it was great to hear from the vendor lady what the trends are. We've been speaking with our correspondent, Deborah Agbalama, giving us newspaper report.
Thank you so much. Thank
from
you.
live on the streets in Port Harcourt, the River State capital. I think this is a wake-up call. Just ensure that people get their papers or their dailies on time, or, of course, just stay ready on Channels Television, where we'll give you all the news real time.